All right, welcome to American Hammers TV. It's our weekend review for Sunday, November 3rd, 2019. With me is Luis from Brazil, who is a big West Ham fan. Which city in Brazil are you in, Luis?
I'm in São Paulo,
Sao
biggest city
Paulo.
in Brazil.
23 million people, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, it's just gigantic.
I
It's
had a
huge.
I had a friend I had a friend from Argentina who lived there for a while, and it is a very, very, very big city. It's like twice the size of New York. So
Yes, yes.
yeah, it's massive, massive. So anyway, Luis is with us, and we're going to get in a minute to a lot of things. We're going to get to the who did we play? Who did we play, Luis? Newcastle.
Oh,
We're going to get to the Newcastle game. We'll talk a little about next week in Burnley. We'll talk about what's going on with Pellegrini and some other stuff. First, there are a very couple of quick things I want to say. We'll also get into some headlines tonight that we'll look at from different areas of the West Ham world. But first thing is, please, if you have not yet, please check out our website, AmericanHammersTV.us. Check out our new shop, ahtv.threadless.com. Or maybe it's threadless.ahtv.com. Anyway, it's one of the two. ahtv.threadless.com, I think it's what it is. You can find it in any case. It is. There's a lot of really cool stuff on there. Excellent stuff. Great designs. Yes, Gabe, this is true. That after a certain amount of life, this does start to become true. That I know people from almost everywhere. I myself very fortunate to be in that situation. But welcome, Gabe, to the show. Anyway, check out our shop. All kinds of cool stuff. Clothes, accessories, anything you ever want. You've seen it before. I don't need to show it to you again tonight. Also, I wanted to throw out a mention of our women's team, the West Ham women's team, who beat Reading today.
yeah.
Now, I don't think everybody understands they were in the Continental Cup, right? Which is not a knockout competition. So 2 weeks ago, they played Spurs. They were down 2-0. They scored twice in injury time to come back and equalize 2-2. Then they went to penalties and lost. But that doesn't knock them out of the competition. Continental Cup has group stages like Europa League or Champions League. Okay, so they got a point from drawing with Spurs in the last minute. Spurs got 2 points for winning the penalty shootout. But with the win today over Reading, they are still alive in the group stage to pass to the next round. So we want to say congratulations to our women. And I'll tell you this, they play with pride and passion, and they are often overmatched against their opponents. They don't have the players some of the other teams have,
Mhm.
but we've had them here on the show, several of the players. They have a fantastic attitude. They represent the club extremely well. They always play hard for 90 minutes plus, and they've had, for a team that has only been together at this level for 2 or 3 seasons, they've had a lot of success. We're really, really proud of them. And right now I feel as though our women and the under 23s are the only people really representing West Ham properly, right? At a high level properly. So
Yeah.
um, anyway, so all that out of the way, Luis and I were just talking about, again, a total disaster against Newcastle, again at home. And again, we find ourselves now 13th. I personally believe we're in a relegation battle. It sounds crazy, but I think we are. But Luis, let's talk about what you were talking about earlier. Give me your take on the game, and give me your take on Pellegrini, because I kind of want to know where you are with him.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for inviting me again. We tried for a few weeks to join, and we sometimes I couldn't, sometimes you couldn't. So it's a blast to be here. And well, being Brazilian and being a football fan since I was a month, uh, foot, foot,
Yeah.
foot, football in Brazil is a huge part of our culture, and we see football every week, every weekend. We grow up with that in our lives. Uh, I can say that West Ham is an odd team, and I just can't figure out what's happening there. It's different because they have a massive fan base. They have a massive stadium. They spend, I don't know, $200 million pounds in the last 2 seasons, and things just can go wrong, go right. Um, and for me, Pellegrini has lost the dressing room because the team doesn't feel drilled, doesn't feel like a team that an experienced manager like him would present every week. So for me, the team doesn't look like an unity. It looks like a bunch of people that match each other before the game, was given a shirt and go out and play badly.
Yes.
My friends in the Sunday league, they can do better at times, because I don't know, but if you are connecting with people, training every day, you should do better than that. And never seen, not for a minute, we've seemed right. At the end, we try to put on the pressure. We try to equalize, but I never felt like we were going to. First of all,
Nope.
and then if you were going to equalize, it wasn't the right score. Newcastle deserved to win, so that's the main problem. Newcastle came to London Stadium and deserved to win. They never scored in this edition of Premier League. They never scored one more goal per game, and they didn't won away. So
Yeah.
what's the point? How can we concede three and never look like a real team? So that's the main concern for me. It's looks like a bunch of people that never met each other. It's
I
terrible.
agree completely. I agree completely. And I think the biggest, well, we'll get it into a minute. We'll get it in a minute into an article that is in Hammers News today. We'll talk about that just a minute because it's relevant to what we're talking about. First of all, I want to welcome everybody in the chat room. Ray, Gabe, Neil, Mississippi Hammers, Alex is here. Everybody's rolling in, so it's good to see you guys. Keep the comments going tonight, okay? There's just two of us for now, so we need you to participate, and we'll pop up your thoughts. I know we had a little fight back in the second half, but obviously it was way too little, way too late. The second goal came, basically in second half injury time. It was, I look at this and I see us in a relegation battle. I don't see any other way. We go back to Palace. You talk about Sheffield United at home, a draw. The Everton away performance was abysmal. Then we have these two games that we've lost here. We have the loss to Newcastle. What do we have? 1 point out of the last how many matches? I don't even remember. I'm losing count.
Yep. Me neither.
And all of these games, with the possible exception of Goodison Park, which is a tough place for us to play, although our performance was abysmal. All of these games were winnable games. Not only winnable games we should have won. We should be picking up points right here, right now, because we're about to go to Burnley. That's going to be a tough match away because it always is. And look at where they are on the table. They're good. They're good.
Yeah.
And we're about to go to Tottenham away after that. And I know they've struggled, but right now there's nobody in the Premier League worse than we are, with the possible exception of Southampton, which they've had some really big problems here lately. But form-wise, we're as bad as any team in the Premier League, and that is that's relegation form. There is so much blame to go around that it's hard to know where to start. I mean, everybody except for Robert Snodgrass is pretty much guilty in not putting out a good enough effort, including Mark Noble, I'm sorry to say, in this case. Yes, I know we've had injuries. Yes, I know the Fabianski injury is very big, and Roberto is not good enough as a Premier League goalkeeper. However, defensively, we were a shambles on Saturday. And the thing that baffles me most, Luis, is some of Pellegrini's decisions.
Why? Don't get me started. Don't get me started with his decisions.
I mean, what? Okay, so let me just start with two. Why does he drop Ogbonna, who's playing some of the best football of his career? Why does he drop him? Number two, why is Zabaleta starting a match? And we've talked about this over and over and over again. Listen, I respect him as a player, but he's old. He's slow. He gets shredded down the wing. And then what did we have to do in the second half when we fell behind in the second half? What did we have to do? Substitute him and get Fredericks in instead of making an offensive and attacking substitution to try to get goals that we needed. We had to shore up the defense because Zabaleta couldn't keep up with the pace. Yep. It's just a shocking. By the way, where was Masuaku? Is he not available? Did I miss that somehow? Maybe somebody could let me know. Maybe I'm missing it.
No, I think he was on the bench, Masuaku. But
I think he was. he's
Let
one
me
of the
see.
he's one of their very few attacking players who, and I know he's a fullback, but he's one of the few who will actually go forward. And by the way, so is Felipe Anderson, and I'm getting a little tired of people ragging on Felipe Anderson because I think he's one of the few players who's trying to make something happen. He hasn't been at his best. I will agree with that, but he's trying to make something happen. We have too many guys who sit back, who don't make runs, who don't look for anything going forward. It's pass back, pass back, pass back, sideways, 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 and we don't have enough players who are, and this includes Allaire, this includes Yarmolenko, this includes all of them.
Mhm.
They're not going forward, and again, to me, the players have to take responsibility for their actions, but it's the manager who gets them ready to play. It's the manager who develops the tactics. He continues to play Allaire up front by himself when very clearly, like Chicharito, he is not a striker meant to play up front by himself. He continues to go with this 4-2-3-1, 4-1-4-1 type thing when it's obviously we need two up front. And he picks
Mhm.
the weirdest players. He picks the strangest, most bizarre combinations of players, not based on form or anything else, apparently. I don't understand where he's getting this. So I don't know if you have anything to add. I'm sorry, that's my rant, and I saved it. I saved it for tonight because I knew we were going to have the show tonight. So that's my rant. We'll get to some headlines in a minute. But anything you want to add to that, Luis?
No, actually, you are right in every statement, every line. I would add that Felipe Anderson on the left wing, he proved himself in the last season that he can do bits with the defenders, with the Rabonas, and all the kind of tricks that he has. But
Yes.
he's not a player that can play a lot of it on his own.
Yeah.
He need people to do 1-2 touches and people to go on the through balls that he thinks, I don't know, 5 seconds ahead of everybody else. And then you have that through ball, that killer through ball, and you don't have anyone to keep up. So at the end of the day, you have a very good player with skill, with pace, but no one's following him. No one's shorting the space. So at the end of the day, you have a very good player trapped in a system that won't help him, and second, that he can't help the system as well. So for me, we are wasting a player in Felipe Anderson, and most of all, we are wasting a player in Haller because he
Yes.
is a good player. He's a
Yes.
good player. I saw him play for Frankfurt for I don't know, 5 games, not that much, but I could see what he could do with Jovic,
Yep.
when he was playing with another striker paired with him. So we are wasting our talent. We are wasting our time this season because we could have been on third, fourth place already. We wasted so many chances. The Palace game was abysmal. The Everton game was abysmal. The post game interview from Pellegrini after the Everton game for me was the worst interview that I ever saw, because he was saying that because they were in a relegation battle and having lost 4 games in a row, they should have more will to go to that game. How come? How come? They are professional players. They are their salaries are, I don't know, £100 per week in the average. How come they cannot do their jobs and go and run, at least run? They might not know they might not know what they need to do or what they are supposed to do, but at least they need to run. And West Ham is the lowest running team in Premier League for
Yeah.
the second or third season in a row. That's
How
abysmal.
completely crazy is that? And again, what does that come down to? I mean, that has to come down to the manager, doesn't it? It doesn't.
Mhm.
I'll tell you what. Let's get into this now because I want to. I want to talk about this article on Hammers News. Let me see if I can find the right one. This always takes me a second to do, so I apologize for this little delay here. Here we go. So the headline is, well, I'm in the middle of the story here, and if you go back up, you'll see the headline is Emmanuel Pellegrini comments that should worry every West Ham fan
Mhm.
after Newcastle. Listen, there we go. There you can see it. Well, it's kind of hard to see, but that's what it says. So if you scroll down here, my screen's a little bit slow. Um, it talks about how Pellegrini said he does not know why things have turned sour. And he even praised hapless goalkeeper Roberto. Now, Roberto has been pretty bad. I agree. There's no way we could have known Fabianski would go down and this would happen. We weren't prepared with a backup keeper. I still don't place all the blame on him because, we're not creating enough going forward. I think that's our biggest problem.
Mm-hmm.
He says, and now he says something interesting here. We start the season well, then we lose to Oxford, and we pointed this over and over and over again. That game against Oxford, where we trotted out a half first team, half second team, decided it's a 10-pot cup. We don't care if we win or not. Just go have a run out. You'll probably beat these guys anyway. We get tonked 4-0, and it has destroyed our season. It's not just the Fabianski injury or the Antonio injury. That Oxford game was a turning point in the season. We have never turned it back around from the arrogance that we showed and saying, "Oh, we're a big Premier League club. We'll just go win this game." But here we get to, I need to find the reason to understand why we start the game in that way. We have started every game in the Pellegrini era that I can remember. The first 15 minutes were a disaster. This has never changed. This has always been this way. The ones we've won, lost, drawn, it doesn't matter. They're always terrible. We cannot believe that the score was 3-2. Really? I can't believe it was 3-2 because it should have been about 6-0.
Yeah. They had two clear chances in front of Roberto, and they wasted.
Right.
At least 5. Yeah, at least 5.
I'm with you on this, Manuel. I can't believe it either because it should have been 5 or 6-0 at least. You must recover. We've been in worse positions ever. We need a strong reaction. We can't play like we did against everyone. I hope the squad understands. What a strong statement. What a leader. I hope the squad understands. Do you think Alex Ferguson ever said, "I hope the squad understands"?
Yeah. They wouldn't make they understand. Yeah. That's ridiculous.
Do you think that the great managers ever said, "I hope the squad understands. We can't do this anymore, guys"? No, Alex Ferguson went in and kicked a boot at David Beckham's face and got up in people's faces like a hairdryer, This is what drives me crazy. He sits there and he says, "I don't know what's going on. I got to figure this out." I want to hear him say, "I take responsibility. I am the leader. I am the manager. It's my problem. I will figure it out."
Yeah, and I may add to that he's the third most. He has the third highest pay salary for managers in Premier League. The third. So
dude, this is so crazy.
For a guy that earns, I don't know, 15 million per season, that's ridiculous. He should be a leader. He should do what you're saying, like focusing and pointing out what's wrong and not figuring out after 16 or I don't know 20 games that things aren't going our way and we have to figure out and you have to do this and that. But at the end of the day, he doesn't know what he's doing. That's the worst part. We don't know at this point. You tell me what player we need to replace to play well next game. We don't have one player or two players.
No,
we need everyone to change.
Everyone except Snodgrass. The only player right now who's putting out maximum effort at Snodgrass, and this is as good as he gets. He's not that great a player. I love him, but he's not a great player. So this is the best we're going to get from him. And what we're seeing,
he's playing on the middle of the park, not in the wing. So at least he's playing on his position or where he can help and be productive. He already scored 2 goals, but he won't offer more than that. He's a 70% player. He'll never offer 100% that we need at this point.
No, and because he's not that good. Right?
Yeah, that's it. It's a quality equation here.
He's like Mark Noble. We love Mark Noble too. Mark Noble is inconsistent. Mark Noble is getting older. Mark Noble has always been a limited player in terms of skill. We love him at West Ham for who he is and what he means to the club. We love him for putting a boot up guys' backsides when he needs to. But honestly, he's again, he's not good enough. But we need maximum effort from our best players. Mm-hmm. This is not a situation that I go back to when Gianfranco Zola was manager, and I loved his tactics. He just didn't have the players to carry it out. He liked playing attacking football. He liked for us to go forward and take chances, especially at home. He just didn't have the players to do it. And I think we do have the players to do it now, and we're not doing it. this is everything has changed. We're in the new stadium. We're second or third or fourth in the Premier League in attendance, which means a lot more money, a lot more bigger gate receipts. We've benefited from the Premier League TV contracts now for the last 8 or 9 years, or 7 or 8 years, whatever it's been that we've been back up in the Premier League. We've spent money on players. I know we don't spend like Chelsea or Manchester City but we've spent more money than where we're sitting in the table right now. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
We've got quality players. We have Yarmolenko, we have Anderson, we have Aller, we have Diop. We have guys we've spent some money on, invested in. These are good players. They may not be superstars, but they're good enough for us to be a minimum a top half Premier League team. The owners have actually put some investment into the club for once. All right,
Yeah.
give them a little bit of credit. I think it all comes down to the manager. I think it has to start with him. That doesn't mean the players don't bear some responsibility, but I think if we keep Pellegrini, it's just like where we were with Bilic a couple of years ago. I think if we keep Pellegrini, we're going down. I don't think he can turn this around. I don't see what he's going to do. Again, look what the guy's sitting here saying. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening. And then he says, and then I love stuff like this. He's defending Roberto, and I get that he wants to defend his player because Roberto's confidence has to be really low right now. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Roberto he says, they scored their first from a set piece, which is not his responsibility. I mean, it kind of is, though. He sets up the ball in front of him. I mean, he's the keeper, not to sound like Tim here, but he's the keeper, right? He organizes the whole thing. He sets up the wall where he wants it. He positions himself where he's supposed to be. It is 100% his responsibility. 100%.
Yeah.
And I agree that he's not the reason why we lost. There are many other reasons why we lost. But to sit there and say it's not his responsibility, that's outrageous. Again, that's just stupid.
Actually, I put a lot of blame on him because his positioning is awful. I think he's always on the wrong foot in the goal. At set pieces, he's terrible, and he's so slow in diving in. I think he has a problem in diving for the left. I do really think that he has that problem. That kind of for the right. Okay, he's quick. I'm right-handed, and I'm a goalkeeper as well. So it's more natural for me to dive for the right, but for the left feels wrong. So I think he has that. He was never a top keeper anywhere he went. He never played in big clubs. He never. I don't think he won anything. So for me, it's pretty much his fault. At least the I think it was Shelby with the free kick, right? I think the Shelby goal was 100% on him because he didn't set the wall right and he was slow diving in. And the first goal for me, it's not his fault because he's left on his own a lot of times. But for me, he should do it better. But he's not Fabianski. He was thrown there. Our season ended basically when Fabianski went down against Bournemouth. For me,
I think you're right. I mean, and again, we were not prepared for that. We obviously let Adrian walk, which I mean at the time made sense. It made sense. And Adrian, as well as he's played for Liverpool, I guess he's got the best team in Europe in front of him. He was always, to me, good but not great for us. A good keeper and a guy I liked a lot as a person, but never a great keeper. Always had a little bit of trouble with his positioning. Was a little vulnerable on set pieces, but a lot better than Roberto. We just didn't prepare for a backup, and then Fabianski went down. And all of a sudden, we're stuck with, Roberto and David. Is his name David Martin? I can't remember.
Yeah, David Martin.
Alvin Martin's son, who I think really came in as an emergency keeper / friend of the club, right? Like his dad played for the club. You know what I mean? Friend of the club. We're going to bring him in, give him a contract. He's going to come into training, and maybe he's going to mentor some of the younger guys or whatever. I really can't imagine. Maybe he's better than Roberto because I know it'd be hard to be worse, but I don't think he's very good.
Yeah,
I don't think he's very good. So it's frustrating that we did not prepare for Fabianski being out for a few months. Although it's rare for keepers to go down, it's still frustrating. At the same time, we have to be better than being down 3-0 to Newcastle after, what was it, 55 or 60 minutes? I can't remember when the goals were all scored, but we have to be better than that. We have to be better going forward. And again, the personnel decisions, they make absolutely no sense to me. I mean,
at all.
But I fear, and I can't remember who made this comment, and I just put it up and took it away, and now I don't see who made it. I fear that we're stuck with Pellegrini because it's going to cost a lot of money to sack him, And let's have this discussion now, Luis. I mean, so we decide to sack Pellegrini tomorrow. It's not going to happen. So who comes in? Who do you get? I have no idea.
Well, I think to dream with Mourinho, it's a lot. But he's out there for grabs. So I don't know. He loves England. He wants to stay in Premier League. His family lives in London. So, well, why not? But I don't think we can get him. The guy from Bayern Munich that was sacked yesterday, I think it's Niko Kovac or some kind of that. He's a good manager as well. He was good for Frankfurt, which is pretty much the same size as West Ham.
Right.
I think they are bigger, but they play in a different league. So for me, they are pretty much the same. So I think to be realistic, I think Niko Kovac would be the best option for us now. We have a few good new German managers coming through the to Premier League and doing good works, but I don't know. Actually, we don't have a correct answer for that. I would always want a younger manager with more desire, more passion than a guy like Pellegrini, which is the team is losing 3-0 and he's sitting there with looking lost and talking to the person that is sitting beside him. So for me, I don't know.
And he just shrugs his shoulders after a match like that. What's wrong? I don't know what's going on. I think of the coaches we have in American sports. I know this isn't an American sport, but I really cannot imagine a coach in the NFL coming out a 3-touchdown loss, which is kind of essentially what yesterday's game was, and saying, I don't know what's going on. I mean, that's not acceptable. At the very least, you step up and you take responsibility. Even if you don't know what's going on, you still take responsibility. That's just kind of how it is. My connection is slowing. I think I've been trying to bring this article up, and okay, all right. So I was going to try to share my screen, but now I'm not going to because it's not working. Anyway, Football London has an article. I don't know if Sam Ingersoll wrote it or not. It probably did. West Ham have serious concerns based on yesterday's game. Don't let the scoreline fool you. I think that's what we've been talking about. But again, in your take, what do you? If we're stuck with Manuel Pellegrini, which I think we are, and first of all, let me go back for a second about Mourinho. Okay, yeah, he gets results when he has a lot of money to spend, when he's at a massive club, right? When he's at an Inter. Mm-hmm. Now, I know he did extremely well at Porto years ago with a limited budget, but that was a long time ago. It was like 15 years ago. He goes to Inter, he goes to Chelsea, he goes somewhere where he's got hundreds of millions of pounds to spend. He does well. I don't know that he would get that result for us. And I'll tell you this: no matter what, he always wrecks the club he manages. He leaves it in a shambles. He leaves it in a steaming heap, in a burning pile, and I don't really want that for us.
Yeah, but we are already there.
well, that's the thing, is we're already there. Yeah, that's true. We're already there. So maybe he comes in and we finish like 7th one season. Then after that, we're back in a relegation battle because that's the way he leaves everybody. I don't know if he's the answer. I don't think we pay for him anyway. But I am I'm with Thomas here. I mean, I know he's not going to be available right now, but Eddie Howe or somebody like Eddie Howe, a younger manager with some new ideas, some fresh ideas, who can maybe relate to the players a little better. Pellegrini's 66 years old. He hasn't been all that successful recently. He had the success at Manchester City with all the money. Quite frankly, I think a lot of people could manage Manchester City to a title with the players they have and the players they're able to go get. Remember Avram Grant almost won Champions League if John Terry hadn't slipped, which is one of the funniest moments in the history of Champions League football. If John Terry hadn't slipped when attempting a penalty, Avram Grant would have had a Champions League trophy. That's astonishing to me because you know what he did here. So I think we need somebody who's able to manage with a limited budget, which is why to me you look at, and I don't know the names because I don't know the names of the managers all that well, but look at the Bundesliga, look at the French league, look at Spain, and look at the mid-table clubs that are performing above where they should. Do you know what I mean? Like they're above where they should. Look who's manager there, and you bring in somebody like that, right? Somebody who's got it, and I'm looking some things up here on my phone. But somebody who's got some experience with a club that has been traditionally mid-table or traditionally kind of a struggler, is performing above standard, and then you get them in to, to me, you can bring them into the Premier League because it's the Premier League. The money's huge, the prestige is huge. You get somebody in like that instead of another retread. We've had all these retreads. Bilic was a retread. He'd just been sacked by Besiktas. Allardyce had been everywhere. Moyes.
Wow.
Moyes, who actually did a pretty good job for us and was under-respected for the job he did for us. Again, past his peak, obviously. Pellegrini past his peak. I'd love to find, again, I don't know names. I know I'm not being very specific, but I'd love to find, somebody who has, some experience with, a club that traditionally is not a big-time club, has limited budget, and yet has been able to keep this club performing above the level where it should. I mean, I look at Angers, this French club Angers. They're in second place right now in the French league. Early in the season, I realized, but this is not a traditionally powerful club. Believe me,
No, it's not.
This is a small club from a small city, and I don't know who their manager is. I don't know much about him. He's a guy named Stéphane Moulin. He's obviously French. Looks relatively. He's 52 years old, so he's not a kid, but he's not a senior citizen. Somebody who's been in that situation, who's brought a club up out of mediocrity. This is what it makes a lot of sense to me in terms of our next manager. But again, I don't think it matters because we're not going away from Pellegrini anyway, because we're not gonna,
we're not
gonna pay him off. We're not gonna pay him off. Yeah.
Yeah. Thomas is saying here, I'm sick of hearing we need a reaction every week, but it's pretty much what we need. We need Pellegrini to react. We need him to be more vivid, more lively. He's not. He's doing nothing every week. He goes out there and it's excuses for me, like the team wasn't prepared or some kind of bullshit that he always brings up. But
right.
We need the reaction. We need him to be the manager we are paying good money, huge money for him to be, and he's not. But I don't see him turning that around. Like we can do some kind of changes. I think we can bring the youth. Nathan Holland is doing bits on under 23s. I think it's Scully, and there's another guy from under 23s that is playing really well. Bring him, replace Noble, replace Carlos Sanchez, and those kind of slow and old and not that good players.
Yeah.
At least try to do something different. But I don't think that Pellegrini is that guy that works with youth very well. Declan Rice, it's beyond that point already. Even though he's young, he's already established.
Absolutely.
But let's try something different. I don't know.
Yeah, at this point, I agree. I mean, I've always been hesitant to play the youth, only because I feel as though in the past when we've played them, they just haven't been good enough. Grady Diangana, he just kind of wasn't good enough. So it's. But on the other hand, right now, what could it hurt? What could it hurt? I mean,
yeah.
And again, I approach our under 23s with a little bit of caution because, as we've said before, they are in the second division of the under 23 league. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They got relegated from the first division of the Premier League 2 down to Premier League 2/2, or how you say it, pronounce it, or note it. But so they're very good, but they're at a fairly low level right now. Even so, right now, I mean, somebody who will try, somebody who will bring a little passion, a little energy. Look at our best player the last couple of weeks has been Robert Snodgrass, who is not one of our best 11 players in terms of skill, is not one of our best 11 players in terms of what he's brought to the club over the last few years. But right now, he's the only one keeping us afloat, basically. And so maybe a Nathan Holland steps in, maybe a Scully steps in, maybe you put maybe we go two up front and we get one of the young guys from the under 23s and say, go up and play with Allaire, let him knock the ball down to you. At this point, I'm willing to try almost anything because I'm really tired of coming on here on Sunday nights and Wednesday nights and having to complain about this team and this manager and this club. And I've even stopped. I didn't even wear a West Ham shirt tonight. I didn't even try, right? Because I mean, the team's not going to try. I'm not going to try either. So, I wore the shirt that I had underneath the sweater.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I'm not taking that off because everyone should panic if I take that off. But
No.
I'll stay with mine. Yeah, but that's the point. I've been a fan of West Ham for almost 20 years now. I was very young. The first time I saw them playing, they were battered by Liverpool 3-0. But it was love at first sight. I always loved this team, but it's constant. When we think that things are going on track and we are going to improve and get to the next level, we always have that kind of the same old conversation. When we appointed Bilic, we were minutes away of appointing Rafa Benitez, with was at the time the best available manager. Bilic did a good job on the first season, but if you remember, if you remember that season, he was playing Antonio on the right back.
That's right.
And we lost 5 or 6 games on Antonio's account because he wasn't a left back, a right back.
Yep.
So it was on Bilic as well. The next season, the board took forever to sack Bilic because it wasn't working at all, and they tried to push him. We were
going down under Bilic. We were absolutely going down under Bilic. I believe.
Yeah,
that.
definitely. Moyes can be stubborn. He can have all kind of problems. There is that talk that how's the name of the striker Hugel, that Hugel's agent is David Moyes' brother. There is this talk. I think ex-WHU employee always talk about it.
Yes.
That's a little bit shady, but at the end of the day, he did what he was paid to do. He put us in a strong position. Then came Pellegrini, and for me, I really thought we were going to the next level with Pellegrini because he always played attacking and beautiful football. But I think there's a reason why he was in China before he came to West Ham. He passed his best. He's older. He's trying to. He's on the end of his career, so he doesn't have the energy we need. It's simple as that.
I don't think he feels any pressure. He's making a lot of money. He's won his trophies. As you said, he's at the end of his career. I don't think he cares whether he succeeds at West Ham or not. I think that's clear to me. The way he shrugs his shoulders, the way he says, I don't know what's going wrong. I don't think it matters to him. I don't think the board puts any pressure on him. And I don't think, again, I think he's finishing out his career with us. He's like a player who's down to the end of his career and he's just like kind of having a run out. He's not
like Zabaleta.
He's like Zabaleta. He is. He's like Zabaleta. He's just, and he's not bringing any ideas or any passion. These changes that he's made have been baffling. He's changed players, but he hasn't changed tactics when it's the tactics that need to change. The changes he's made to the starting 11 have been bizarre at best. The substitutions are always weird and at the wrong time. I don't, again, I don't see how every West Ham fan can sit at home and see this, and he can't. Yeah. I mean, usually I say to myself, we're just fans. We don't have the knowledge that the manager has. He's in training, etc. I'm not sure he's paying any attention. I just can't tell. And I'll tell you, Thomas has a good point. We'll put this back up for a second. I mean, if we bring in Holland and he replaces Lanzini, he doesn't do anything. Who cares? Lanzini hasn't done anything anyway. Lanzini's been ineffective. Most of our players have been ineffective. Yeah, this is another one from Andrew. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we need more English players. Maybe we need more, players, younger Mark Noble with skill who understand what it means to be West Ham. Because how on earth do you walk out in front of that stadium with Bubbles playing, with all the atmosphere, and then just walk around? Just can't wait to get back into your Lamborghini at the end of the match, and and go back out to the clubs or whatever it is they do. Yeah, I just. Again, I'm baffled by the players, but to me, it starts with the manager. It ends with the manager. It's just it's not a situation that's going to get better until we make a change in leadership. But
I think the leadership is on the board as well, because
yes.
I think both Davids they don't have that stamina that the club needs to grow to the next level. I think they are awesome businessmen, because I'm not a billionaire. They are, so they are better than me in business.
Sullivan's so
right?
to me, though. I'm sorry, I don't like Sullivan at all. I don't like the way he made his money. David Gold's different. David Gold has a lingerie shop. That's fine. Sullivan was a pornographer, and it's almost like it's too easy.
But he can handle his business. But when it comes to the club, to the football club that needs someone to take action, because we are looking here, which week we are on the Premier League. Let me see here again.
12, I think now.
I think we are match day 11. It's been 11.
Or maybe it's 11. Yeah.
Yeah, 11 weeks. We are almost on the. We are not that close, but we are almost in the middle of the competition, and we are ready. What we are playing for nothing.
Nothing. We're never playing for anything. Yeah. Not only that, we're never playing for anything, but also I think it's worse than that, because we're in a relegation battle. There is no reason for a club with our money, and I know we don't have Chelsea money, but we at least have mid-table owners, right? Mm-hmm. We have a top stadium. We have an ownership that has spent enough money to get us at least to mid-table and possibly into Europe. And there's no reason for this club right now to be sitting 13th in another relegation battle. It's outrageous, and it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, exactly. We were talking about Oxford. When you have the money we have, the stadium we have, and you go out there and are battered by Oxford, and by the way, they are the third League One club that knock us off from the club from the last 3 seasons, right? So that's not.
And then I can't remember who it was before that, but Wimbledon.
Wigan, I think.
Yeah.
Was it? It was Wigan. Yes, they are the third. So at this point, we should be more alert, at least more alert, more waking up for that kind of game. We went out there. We spared a lot of players for what? To play for 10th to 11th on Premier League, 9th. Go for silverware. It's our biggest, and I think it's our only chance to have silverware in the near future is to win that specific cup. Why you don't go all in for that? Why? I can't understand.
I feel the same way. Why don't you go all in when there's their best chance to win a trophy, for the first chance we've had in 40 years? The best chance to win a trophy is the League Cup. And I'll tell you something else. Call it a 10-pot cup if you want to. I don't care. Liverpool and Arsenal didn't treat it like a 10-pot cup in midweek with that 5-5 game that went to penalties. I mean, they were playing for something, those players they put out there, they were playing for something. And so I think it's arrogant. I think it's an arrogance that we showed, that, we thought we could just walk through that match and we didn't care if we won or lost anyway, because it was just a League Cup. How can you take a club that hasn't won a trophy in 40 years and basically 2 generations and say, we don't care. It's only the League Cup. That's crazy. Anytime you have a chance to win a trophy, you got to go for it. You got to go for it. All right, so let's do a Hammers poll or two, if you don't mind. Let's see if my screen share works a little better this time, so it doesn't crash again. Let's see. This first Hammers poll, I voted in it. It's not the choices aren't great, as you will see, but so they're asking the question. And I think this was before the Bayern manager was sacked, probably. I don't know when that happened. Anyway, this is from 5 hours ago, so maybe not. But let's see. Can we all see that? Yeah, more or less. All right. So we have the question of the out of work managers. Realistically, and I guess these are realistic options. Which one would you want to have as manager if Pellegrini were to be sacked? We have Chris Hughton, who used to be at Brighton and Newcastle, a couple other places. Pardew, we know Pardew from our time with him. Di Canio, that's insanity. Sorry. And Martin Allen, I don't know much about him as a manager, to be honest. I thought the best option was Chris Hughton. It's not a very good option. I thought it was the best option. Any of those, Luis, that you would look at and say, yeah, bring that guy in?
Yeah, just Chris. Di Canio would be a cult hero, but he's not even a manager. Martin Allen, I didn't know he was a manager as well. And now Allen, I think Pardo was there when Tevez and Mascherano came from Corinthians.
I believe
Yeah, I think he was the guy. And I remember a quote because I support Corinthians here in Brazil. I remember a quote on the papers saying Pardo saying that he didn't want it or never asked for stars or high profile players or whatever, but like complaining about the quality or the status of those players. So a guy with that mentality, I wouldn't bring him back. So the only option for me is Chris Hilton. The only option.
And Thomas is right. It is a horrible list. I mean, he's right. We know that. And there has to be better out there. I think Hammer's Pulse, to be fair, they want to bring up realistic options, so they're not going to throw Mourinho in there. You know, they're not throwing Eddie Howe in there because he's under contract with another club. I get all that. It is a bad list, but just for me, there are things that if we were to bring in Di Canio, that would be a disaster like we've never seen before.
Yeah, he's not a manager.
No,
but he's a cult hero. Maybe
right.
maybe he will try to bring that spark. I don't know. I think I'm being more a fan of Di Canio than a West Ham fan in this case because he's crazy. He has that crazy mentality, but he would bring at least passion for the club, at least for a week or two.
Of course he would.
From there would be a disaster downhill. We'll be relegated before we could notice.
Yeah, I agree, and because he's insane. I love him. He's one of the reasons I love West Ham. He's one of the reasons I started to watch West Ham many years ago. But he is crazy, and he was crazy when he was at West Ham, and he's crazy now. And yeah, it would be a total disaster, and everybody would hate him. And I'd rather he be a cult hero forever than come back to West Ham and ruin it like Maradona with Argentina, right? I mean, when he went to manage Argentina, you just knew it was going to end in tears because he's not a manager.
Yeah, he's not.
He's also completely nuts, and I'm sorry. I know you're Brazilian, but I apologize. I love Maradona. I've loved him my whole life, but I mean, as a manager, you got to be out of your mind to hire a guy like that. All right, let's move on to this one. Let's just get down to it. We've got about 10 minutes left. I know it's almost midnight in Sao Paulo, so I appreciate you staying.
No problem. Yeah, no problem.
This is it's been really good having you on. All right, so let's get down to it. We got two left. Now let me see. I believe there's an international break after these two games, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe there's a national break after Burnley. I don't remember.
I think it's after Burnley.
It's after Burnley. You're right. Yeah, because Spurs is on the 23rd. That's right. So it's after Burnley.
Yeah,
all
that's
right.
it.
So we have two games away to a Burnley. We never beat the B teams. We know that. Burnley, Brighton, Bournemouth. We never beat them. Away to Burnley and then home to Spurs. How many points are we getting? I'm going to be honest. I don't think we're getting any out of these two games. I'm just going to tell you right now. I think that unless we do something drastic, unless Pellegrini does something drastic to change his tactic, to change his lineup, to go and do the Mr. Miyagi thing from Karate Kid and heal Fabianski with his magic hands, I don't think we're getting anything out of these games, especially Burnley, because it's the game before an international break, and we always lose those.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? What's your prediction? Are you any more positive than I am?
Let's see. I remember Burnley away last season was the worst game we played under Pellegrini until this run from the past 5 games. It was terrible. And Burnley just lost to Sheffield, I think. Yeah. And I think Burnley and Sheffield, they are very similar in the way they play. So I will never compare West Ham with Sheffield or Burnley. I think we're going to a draw there. Terrible game.
Right now, I would take that, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so because they might be on the same area in the table as us. We are with 13 and they are with 12 points.
Yeah.
But I think they are in the kind of the same run. They lost to Chelsea and now to Sheffield. Both of the teams have points to prove. So I think will be a disaster. Will be terrible to watch. Against Spurs, I don't know. I'm feeling confident about Spurs. First of all, we are doing our first gathering, Hammers Brazil gathering in the Spurs game. So we are going to a nice pub in São Paulo with 50 people, coverage from ESPN, all the things. But so I'm feeling confident because of that specifically. But Spurs is on a terrible run as well. Son, yes,
Where they gave up a goal like 7 minutes into injury time today, something like that.
yes, and Son was sent off by
Yeah.
by breaking Andre Gomes' leg.
Yes,
Uh,
that's right.
Eriksen,
That was
Eriksen, Vertogen, other viral. No one is playing for the shirt anymore. So I think if we draw against Burnley and Pellegrini works on the international break, we are able. We are just able to beat them, but will be tough. So I think I'm going with 4 points here. I think it's reasonable. I jinxed the roll run that we have of easy and winnable games in our podcast in Hammers Brazil. I said that we were going for 15 games, 15 points, sorry, and
right.
we had like 1 point. So I jinxed everything. But I think we are going to 4 points here.
The most West Ham thing that could possibly happen. We all know the most West Ham thing that could possibly happen would be the loss to Burnley and the win over Spurs. To me, there's
Yes.
no there. I mean, the West Ham thing we could do as a club would be to go get tonked by Burnley away, to come back and play Spurs at home after the international break, after weeks of misery, not winning since Manchester United, and then just beat Spurs like 4-0. You know what I mean?
It would be great. I would love it.
I would love it too, and I would take it. If we're going to get 3 points, please let it be over Spurs, right, and not Burnley. Burnley to me, and Thomas says here, Burnley were awful. I agree with what Thomas says, and this is what bothers me more than anything else. We play Everton. They've only scored 6 goals all season. They're sitting in the relegation zone. They tonk us. We play Newcastle, as you said, Luis. They had not won away all season. They had not scored, I think, more than 1 goal all season, or at least more than 1 goal away all season.
Away, yeah.
They come away. They come out and they're 3-0 up on us just like that. We're like a charity. We're like the little sisters of the poor, the sisters of mercy. You need a win. You in some trouble. We'll bail you out. We're the friggin' Salvation Army. You know what I mean? And that's the biggest issue that I have is that again, as Tim says here, Burnley and Spurs need wins. Perfect time to play West Ham. That's why I don't see us getting a result away to Burnley, because we never do beat them anyway, in my memory. The only thing I could see being the most West Ham thing possible, as we said, would be 0 points to Burnley, 2 weeks of absolute misery, and then a gigantic win over Spurs, followed by like 3 more losses after that.
Yeah. I think I can argue with that, because it's probably what's happening, or we are drawing everything until Christmas. I'm really not feeling confident about the future. I'm only feeling confident for the Spurs game, the isolated Spurs game for the season. I'm seeing us dragging and being lazy, and with all the heavy atmosphere until the end of the year at least. I think we are going for the January window and buy, or I think we're going to loan someone for midfield and to improve us like we did with João Mario in the past. But I agree with you. I'm thinking all the negative, and it's not impossible. I think we are going to have that kind of terrible run again as soon as we win, and we can go with all that kind of, we need to build from here. The team looked good today. From that moment, I think we are going to mess up everything again. But that's the West Ham way. It's not playing well. That's the West Ham way.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way, and I just again, it's baffling to me, because no matter which manager we have, no matter who our players are, no matter who our owners have been over the years, it doesn't matter. It's always the same. It's always the West Ham way. It's always the West Ham way. I just, my real fear is that we're going to be bouncing around in the bottom three by New Year's Day, by January. We've already sunk to 13th. I think we're 5 points out of the relegation zone right now. That means we're, 2 weeks away, 3 weeks away with international break potentially from hanging around down there at the end of the year. And that's when that's when it gets dangerous. When you're hanging around down there at Christmas, that's when it gets dangerous. I just, again, I personally am on the Pellegrini out bandwagon, but that's easy to be when I'm not the owner. I don't have a manager lined up to replace him. I don't know who would replace him. I don't have answers. Do you know what I mean? I don't have answers. I only know that he is taking us in the wrong direction. I think he's checked out. I think he's disengaged. And I don't think he is somebody who's going to be able to lead us, one, up the table this season, and two, in the future. Who is that person? Can we just go get an Eddie Howe? I mean, I don't know, but it's not this guy.
If we're going to Eddie Howe is for the next season. He's not leaving Bournemouth for us now.
No,
not even is Deitch doing it.
No.
So I think we are sticking with Pellegrini. It's happening. I even heard, I was in Twitter, I think after the game or this morning, I actually read that someone proposed to Noble to be a player manager. I said, well, how?
No, see,
people are out of their minds because they are so pissed off with Pellegrini, with no plans, no will, no desire, all the things we are already said. People are so desperate to have passion back to the club that they are thinking in the most passionate player that they could think. Someone else said to bring back Jack Collison is the guy that went to Atlanta, I think.
And we love Jack Collison.
Bring him back. Yeah.
He's a friend of the show. He's a friend of the network. He's been on our show. Tim knows him personally. I've met him. We've interviewed him here. I think there is potential for Jack Collison to be a manager, but let's give him some time to work with the academy in Atlanta. Let's give him some time to work with younger players. The guy's still in his early 30s, I think. He sustained his
retired young, yeah.
Yeah, when it was in his 20s, he was very young when he had to quit playing. I love Jack Collison. I'm a huge fan. But, I mean, bring him back as West Ham manager? No, not right now. Not right now. I'm sorry. That's not fair to him or to us or anybody else. That's a ridiculous idea.
Yeah, but fans are desperate now. So
fans are desperate, and I feel desperate too. Do you know what I mean? I feel the same way because I feel the way I felt when we had Bilic here. I feel the way I felt when we had Avram Grant here, which was that it was inevitable that we were only going to get worse. The manager had no idea what to do. He wasn't engaged with the players. He wasn't interested in taking West Ham forward. It was a manager who, Bilic a little less so, but especially in Avram Grant's case, was at the end of his career. It already peaked. This was like a retirement job, and it didn't matter to him what happened. And the whole Avram Grant season was like a long nightmare. It was just, and you knew it was going to get worse and worse the more it went on. And that's how it's starting to feel to me right now. That's how it's starting to feel to me right now. Like a nightmare. We can't get it turned around. We're behind where we were last season. We've had a run of matches where we should have picked up 6, 8, 10 points at a minimum, and we picked up one, and we're bouncing around down in the teens of the table, and it's only going to get worse and worse and worse. So, I just, there are a lot of guys out there. There are a lot of managers out there, young managers in smaller leagues who I'm sure would love to come to the Premier League. I'd love to find somebody like that. Fortunately, it's not my job to go out and find that guy.
Yes.
But I mean, it is David Sullivan's job, and it is David Gold's job, and God help us, it is, I guess, maybe Karen Brady's job too. I don't know how involved she gets in all that. And I don't know whether Husilios and Lanzini, Husilios and Pellegrini are a package deal. I don't know if that's the case. Because Husilios seems to have done a pretty good job at bringing in some high, profile players. We're just not getting anything out of them. But I don't have a big problem with the names we brought in necessarily. So, I don't know if
Husilios brought Roberto. Was his idea?
Well, that was a miss.
Yes. He brought Fornals.
Well, it's been a miss so far too.
Yeah, but I read an interview from Joe Hart a few weeks ago. He was speaking about David Silva, and I'm not comparing Fornals to David Silva,
Right.
but he said that they when he first came, the impression that everyone got was that they bought a player paying like, I don't know, 50 100 50 million pounds, I don't know how much, but for a Spanish player that couldn't speak the language, wouldn't know his position in the field, and wouldn't kick for his life. So you need to give those kind of players time, but we don't have the time. So Pellegrini needs to cut the Fornals project short
Yep.
now. Give him training, drills, w- straightening for physics, for shooting, and then coming back with him. The plan for next year, okay, is still a good plan because you can see that the guy has the ability, but they need to cut the plan short, and that's the kind of player that Pellegrini and Husilius are bringing. So I'm not sure that we can go to the market, to the player market, and buy someone that one player that will change everything. I don't think that they have that kind of ability to see to research the market and bring the correct piece that is lacking on the midfield.
And
You
as
know,
much as we blame the players for the problems we have, don't you think that that in theory and on paper the players should be good enough? The players
yes,
we have should be good enough. I think they should.
yep,
I mean, I look at the squad we have and I say to myself, okay, there are some weaknesses. Fullback is a weakness. We probably need a box-to-box midfielder, but who doesn't? Who doesn't? Everybody does, right? You know, I would love to see us have a second striker, or at least do something like take Yarmolenko and put him up front with Aller as a second striker. Because if Aller goes down, we also have another huge problem. But you know, again, these players should be good enough. And then guys leave us. Like Perez goes off to Spain and scores like 5 times in 5 games. You know, some of the guys who have gone, like Hugo in the championship, I think he's found his level. I don't think he was a Premier League player, but these guys leave us and they go have enormous success somewhere else. You know,
yes.
because they get into a system that works for them. So I'm not panicked about our squad. I'm panicked about our management at the moment and the way our squad is reacting to the management. Because I don't think we need a massive overhaul of the team. We've done that the last like 3 windows. You know, we need a massive overhaul of our tactics and the way we use the team.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, anyway, it is a Monday morning in Sao Paulo, if I'm not
Yes, it is.
mistaken. It is 12:04 in the morning. Do you have to work on Mondays, Luis?
Yeah, but I work from home tomorrow, so I'm good.
Oh, okay, that's good. That's good. That's good. Yeah, I'm with. This is a good closing thought here from Thomas, and I agree with him completely. I think you know, with the players we have, with the money we've spent, we should be better. Yes, they need to put out a better effort. They do, but it's the manager's job to get them to do that, and he's not doing it right now. So I hate to come on here twice a week and be such a Debbie Downer about the club, but you know, we have to call it the way we see it, and we have to be honest. So, Luis, anything you want to throw in before we go?
Actually, just want to thank you for the opportunity to be back here. It's always a pleasure to speak with you guys, to speak with people from other countries. Hammers Brazil, we are always speaking in Portuguese, and people always ask for us to speak in English and publish in English. But we are trying to raise awareness for West Ham in Brazil, so we can't do that all the time. So it's a good opportunity to show what we think, and to be close to people who understand us in different languages. And I want to thank all the guys from Hammers Brazil. Next time should be another admin here, probably Cássio or Gabriel, but it's always a pleasure. And follow us on Hammers Brazil, Brazil with the S, on the Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We are trying to do something huge here in Brazil. We have been working 24/7 for the gathering in the game against Spurs. Will be awesome.
Now, when and where is that going to happen? What's the? I know we know when. We know the date of the game, obviously, but what is the? What time in Brazil is that, and where are you going to do it?
It's gonna be 9 a.m.
Okay.
Yeah, 9:30 the game, but we are starting to together on 9 a.m. in a pub called Cão Velho, which is literally old dog in English. The pub is from a Brazilian singer and one of the biggest chefs in Brazil. We're speaking with them via Instagram. They open the doors. They are charging us a small fee to do that they get that gathering now. ESPN is covering, so it's a huge step for us.
Excellent.
And yeah, and we are panicking already because it's huge, right? We need to do everything really right, really perfect, because it's the first time everyone will see, and West Ham need at least the fans to do something right once they are not doing that anything right inside the pitch.
No, you're absolutely right. And now, how many people do you hope to get?
We are starting with 50, but we can get up to 100 because the pub is not that big, but they have some open spaces. Let's see. We already have 30 confirmed fans, but we are not even with the page out. We are selling the tickets in pre-sale, but we are going now in the next 2 or 3 weeks before the game. I think we have just 3 weeks. We need that before the 23rd, but we are good. It's gonna be fun.
That's fantastic. You're doing fantastic work in Brazil. I think it's very exciting. And that's in Sao Paulo, right?
Yes, gonna be in São Paulo, in the one of the most cool places in São Paulo, which is Pinheiros. It's a very nice neighborhood with bars and clubs, and will be very nice.
That's fantastic. That sounds great. I wish I could be there, actually. I wish
Yeah,
I could go.
anyone that uh, I don't know if someone's coming to São Paulo for work, try to
Yeah.
spend at least a day, because it's gonna be fun.
I haven't been to Brazil. I haven't been to South America. I would love to go. We will get down there eventually when my boys get a little older and we are able to afford it and they'll appreciate it a little more. We're going to get down there at some point. I think you guys do great work. And yeah, everybody follow Hammers Brazil. It's, of course, with the S, Brasil, because that's the way people spell it in Brazil. Why we put a Z in there?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why we insist on the Z or the Z, as they would say in England. But it is, of course, the first and greatest nation of football. With the greatest players in history and the greatest history. So, and we have a lot of Brazilian friends here in Massachusetts. We have a lot of Brazilian immigrants here in Massachusetts, and a lot of passion for football. A lot of supporters of various clubs. A lot of Cruzeiro supporters up here. A lot of Corinthians, I should say, supporters. I don't pronounce it very well. So when the Brazilian national team play at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, we have been there to see it. It's a packed house. It's a great atmosphere, and we love the Brazilian restaurants where they come and slice the meat for you and stuff.
Yeah.
Like they just keep coming and bringing you meat. It's
Yeah.
the greatest idea.
All you can eat, and that doesn't stop.
Yeah, no, that's what I love about it. They just keep. You don't even have to ask. They just come over and slice more meat. I'm like, yeah, of course. We got one right down the street in Lowell. We got one called Oasis Restaurant or something like that in Lowell. That's where Tim lives, not too far from me. So, good place. Anyway, yeah, Luis, I really, really appreciate you being here. We love what you're doing in Brazil. We're definitely going to have you back on. Thank you for staying up so late at night. To everybody else, tomorrow night, I think Tim's going to remind me if I'm wrong. He's going to come in the chat room and tell me, but I think it's 9:00 tomorrow night. We have another show. I know we have another one on Tuesday night, pretty much every night this week. So if you're subscribed to our channel, which we hope you are, if you're not, please subscribe. 8 p.m., Tim says, 8 p.m. tomorrow night. 8 p.m. tomorrow night. If you're subscribed to our channel, that's Eastern time, of course. If you're subscribed to our channel, click the little bell. That'll tell you when we have a show coming on. You'll know when we're on. If not, please subscribe or, check us out at 8:00 tomorrow night. There'll be more great content on, and we'll have another show on Tuesday night. We're doing stuff pretty much every night of the week now. So, and listen, as West Ham fans, let's all keep the faith, right? I mean, we love the club no matter what. It's the club you love. It's the club you hate. It's the club that puts us through the ringer. But keep in mind that when we do finally win again, and we do beat Tottenham 4-0 3 weeks from now, it'll all be worth it. So, Luis, thank you again. I really appreciate you. You're absolutely fantastic. Great co-host. Really appreciate you being here. And for everybody else, have a great week. Come on, you Orange!
Come on, you Orange!